Now, before completing the animation graph, let's just take care of some things that are getting on my nerves. In particular, right now we've got this grey temporary cube in front of the character, and I really don't want to see this at the moment. We might want to see it later when we're importing our main cube objects into the scene, but we're not doing that now. Right now we're trying to focus on the character, and this box is just getting in the way. So to hide this, because the box has been modeled as a separate object, separate from the character mesh, we have independent control over its visibility. All we need to do to hide this box is to dig down into the hierarchy and select the P-cube mesh, and we can just switch it off completely. And now we can't see the box mesh at all, and we can just focus now. When we press play, we can just focus on what the character is doing. So if I switch to 1, again, now the character is walking, and we don't have to worry about this box being animated with the character. So that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to raise the character upwards just slightly in the viewport. The feet are just penetrating through the floor there, so I don't want that. Just press play and switch that to 1, and now that's looking much better. So that's what we want. So we have this character, and we've started to configure this animation graph. We also want to configure this for the push state as well. So I'm going to select idle, right click and choose make transition, and set this here. Select this transition. I want to change this condition from the I state when it equals 2, because 2, when I state is 2, that represents a box pushing state. And again, create another transition back to idle and say when I state is not equal to 2, then we want to transition back to the idle. So now I'm going to press play on the toolbar. Again, the character is in the idle state. I want to change this to 1, and the character is walking. I'm going to change this to 2 and see what happens. And now the character is in the box pushing state. Let's just switch to the game tab. You'll notice that right now, when the character enters the pushing state, they are raised above the floor. And that's not really what we want. Let's just change back to state number 1. And you'll see the character's feet are on the floor. But again, if we go to the box pushing state, the character is hovering slightly above the floor. So how do we fix this? Well, one way we fix this is by selecting the mesh here in the project panel and switching over to the animations tab and selecting the problematic animation. In this case, the problem animation is the push animation. So I want to select the push animation, and you can even see in the preview here, if I go back to walk, you can see the character's feet are on the ground, but in the push, again, the character's feet are above the ground. So we can easily fix this by moving downwards here to the transform position Y and changing this offset. I'm just going to set this to 0.2, and I think that's about right. Now the character's feet are on the ground. So you can actually offset the Y transformation here, and I've set that to 0.2, and I'm going to apply those changes, choose apply. And now when I press play, let's change to the scene tab so we can see the character clearly. Press 1 and he's now walking on the floor. Let's now press 2 and the character is now pushing and their feet are firmly grounded, which is what we want. So that's how we've corrected for that inaccuracy there on the Y-axis. And in doing that, we've now completely configured the animation states for our character, the idle, the walk, and the push, and these are controlled by the iState parameter. Right now, while the game is running, we're having to come in and change this iState value manually by typing in the values here, but of course we're going to be accessing this parameter directly from script when we come along and implement the player controls, so that we'll have complete control over the animation state that's being played at any one time. And we're going to consider the issue of input controls next.